I thought that we would continue with Pirkei Avot. Right, we left off last time. We were discussing Shmaya and Avtilon, and the Mishnah Pirkei Avot, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Yud Bet. We'll try hopefully to go through a few of them. Continues with Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai kiblu mehem. Hillel and Shammai, they received from their rabbis, from Shmaya and Avtilon. Hillel Omer, what does Hillel say? Heveh mitalmidav shel Aharon. Be one of the students of Aharon. What does that mean to be a student of Aharon? Ohev shalom verodev shalom. Be someone who loves peace and pursues peace. Ohevet habriot karvan laTorah. Somebody who loves just creations, loves people, loves humanity. Umekarvan laTorah, and brings them close to Torah. So, before we even start, we need to appreciate who was Hillel. Almost everything we'll see, a big part of what you need to be able to follow the words of Hillel is to be humble. And Hillel, that was what he epitomized. That's what he was all about. Rabbis tell us when the Torah and the book of Devarim discusses giving tzedakah, giving charity, it says, Dai mechsaro asher yechsar lo. You need to give charity that person needs. So you have someone who's sitting on the floor and they're homeless, and I might think to myself, you know what, if I'm going to give this guy money, he's just going to go buy cigarettes. That's not charity. It's not, if and I'm not getting into the discussion, but if that's what he needs to survive, the person sits on the floor, the person's depressed, the person's dejected, and what he needs to survive is that cigarette, that's his only or her only enjoyment in life, that's what they need. So it doesn't matter. I might think, no, I want to give them a good meal. They would say, I'd rather have a falafel than have a steak and be able to have that cigarette, that puff, it gives me life. It doesn't matter what I think they need. I remember having this debate with my rabbi. We were discussing, and in Israel, somebody posed the question. In Israel, when we were living in Israel, you often get knocks on the door. Hachnasat kala, I want to marry off my daughter. Can you please give some charity? And we said to Rabbi Berkowitz, look, we know that how does it work? In Israel, if you want to marry off your kid, you need to put a down payment or buy them an apartment. Many people say, instead of just wasting money on rent, I feel the same way. I'm here in London 11 years, and even when I was in Israel for 5 years, we rented. And to some extent, it's money down the drain, in many people's opinion. And if you would have the money for the down payment, the rent is the same as a mortgage. But that way, after 20 years, you actually own it. So the custom in Israel, at least it was in many circles, was you needed to marry off your child, you needed an apartment, or a down payment for an apartment. So this guy comes to my house, knocks on the door, says, I'm collecting money for tzedakah, achnasat kala. If I give this guy 10 shekel or 20 shekel, I'm basically giving it so he can buy an apartment. It's not like he's buying the food at the wedding. Is that considered tzedakah? I don't own an apartment, so I should give him money so he can buy an apartment? Is that tzedakah? And our rabbi said to us, whether you like the system or not, that's the system. You're not going to change it. So therefore, it's not what he wants to marry off his child, it's what he needs. It's dai mechsaro asher yechsar lo. It's what he needs, not what you decide he needs, what he needs. Hillel took this concept to another level. And Hillel said, if you have somebody who's very rich, and they unfortunately lose their money, and every wedding that they made, they spent millions, and now the guy's broke, and he needs to marry off one of his children, it's 100% tzedakah to give this person money so that he can make a fancier wedding. Now, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I remember discussing this one time at a class, breakfast shiur in Dune, New Jersey. The guy's like, Rabbi, we're not buying this. It's not happening. You're not going to convince us that that's considered, you want to feed poor people? That's charity. This guy wants to make a wedding for $1 million instead of $100,000. That's not my problem. I want my money to go to poor people who need food. Says Hillel. Again, I don't know if there's a time frame. I would assume there is some type of time frame. If the guy was a millionaire 20 years ago, you can't say now 20. But especially if it's relatively imminent and right after they lost their money, there's a certain standard of living people are used to. And to go down is very, very challenging. Even us here, forget about wealth. We're used to being able to get on a plane and go to Israel. And now, we were just discussing, I don't know who tuned on when, it's a huge hassle. If you can even get in, you need to have both vaccines, you need to have the antibody test, you need to do all these things, and then you have to pay for testing. It's such a hassle. It's such a headache. There's a certain things that you're used to and now you don't have them. It's not easy. I remember Matasio Solomon, I heard that in 2008 when the economy collapsed, he spoke to the guys in Kolil and he said to them, look, you have no idea what's going on out there in the big bad world. You didn't have much money before and you don't have much money now. You didn't go out to eat that often and you didn't get on the plane and fly around the world. But people that were used to that standard of living and now they lost it, you might be like, great, so now we're all in the same boat. We all don't travel. It's not like that. When you're used to a certain standard, to go down is very challenging. Says Hillel, and therefore it's considered tzedakah to help this man who was rich and lost his money make a fancy wedding. Now, I'm not going to get into it. That's what Hillel says. But Hillel didn't just talk the talk. He walked the walk. In those days, the custom was that when somebody very wealthy came to town, they would have someone come before them in the horse and buggy and announce, so-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, Lord so-and-so is now coming to town. There was a rich man who lost all his money, couldn't afford to pay the guy who runs in front of his carriage to announce that he's coming. Hillel himself became that person. Hillel went in front of this guy's carriage and he would announce, so-and-so is now coming to town. I saw Reb Chaim Shmulevitz asks, maybe Hillel says you should do that, but not if you're the chief rabbi. Hillel's the Resh Galuta. There's a concept of zaken ve'eno lefi kvodo. It's not respectful. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz answers that it must be Hillel felt for this guy, it's pikuach nefesh. This guy was so used to the kavod, and it was so important to him, without that he might have a heart attack and die. And therefore Hillel was willing to give up. It wasn't about me. Hillel says, I'll run in front of the carriage, if that's what needs to be done. Hillel himself, if you want to be able to have, we'll get back to it in a second, but ohev shalom, someone who has peace, you need to have a lot of patience. A lot of patience. The Gemara tells a story. There was once a man, Friday afternoon, Hillel's in the shower, he's got the shampoo in his hair, whatever it might be, and he's screaming, Hillel, Hillel, I need Hillel. So Hillel quickly puts on his robe, runs outside, what can I do for you? Says, a very important question. Yes, my son? Says, how come the people from certain areas, their eyes are very slanted? Hillel, it's Shabbat, a few minutes before Shabbat. Hillel's in the shower, and he says, that's a phenomenal question, my son. You see, because in that area, it's very windy and there's a lot of sand. And to make sure the sand doesn't get into their eyes, Hashem made it that their eyes are slanted. Thank you so much. Hillel goes back into his house, gets back into the shower. A few minutes later, Hillel, Hillel, I need Hillel. Yes, how come the people from Africa, their legs are very, very strong? I have a friend, his father is a big doctor, does a lot of surgeries in Savannah, Georgia. And he said to me, it's a proven fact. It's not just that they say white man can't jump. Certain people, their ligaments are stronger or tighter. Their legs are naturally bigger. Hillel says, that's a phenomenal question, my son. Those areas, there's a lot of swampland. And to be able to walk in those areas in Africa, their legs needed to be stronger. Thank you so much. Hillel gets back into the shower. A minute later, Hillel, Hillel, I need Hillel. He quickly puts on his robe, comes outside. And the guy says, I have another question. How come the people from this area, their head is cone-shaped? Now, if this is me, it's a few minutes before Shabbat, I'm trying to get in the shower, the guy's asking the stupidest questions I've ever heard in my life, I'm gonna punch this guy in the face, right? Come back after Hillel says, my son, each time Hillel has the patience. And the guy says to him, you're the sage Hillel that everyone talks about? He says, yeah. He says, there should be no more like you amongst the Jewish people. Why not? He says, because I made somebody a bet. They said, Hillel has the most patience, you can never get him angry. And I bet 400 zuz, 50 grand, that I'll be able to find a way of getting you angry. So I waited till Shabbat, right before Shabbat, and I waited till I heard you were in the shower, and each time I came out with the stupidest questions I could think of. Hillel had that patience. So Hillel is not just talking the talk, he lived it. And he says, be a student of Aaron HaKohen. What does that mean, be a student? You might think, oh, I'm not a Aaron HaKohen. Aaron HaKohen, he was the greatest. He was, he's the high priest, he's the Kohen Gadol. I can't compare to Aaron. Maybe you're not Aaron HaKohen. But you can be a student. You can try and emulate him on your level. You can try to do the best that you learn from him. What did Aaron HaKohen do? Ohev Shalom. He loved peace. Now, most people, you ask them, what is peace? They'll say, is America and England, are we at peace? Yeah, sure. As far as I know, we're at peace. I don't know that we're at peace. We're just not at war. And people ask me, is your wife happy in London? I said, she's not unhappy. That's also a level. People think there's happy and unhappy. There's unhappy, there's neutral, and then there's happy. Right? Don't just be neutral. In your marriage, you don't want to just be neutral. How's everything? Well, we don't fight. That's good, but we don't talk. That's not a relationship. It's not shalom, but we don't fight. That doesn't mean that there's shalom. It just means there's lack of war. Ohev shalom. You need to be somebody who loves peace. The root of the word shalom is shalemut, completeness. We're one entity. My success is your success, and my failure is your failure, and vice versa. I feel what you feel. That's shalom. You need to be somebody who loves shalom. Who no matter what, in any situation, you love shalom. And you try and get involved if you can. You know this couple's have a challenging time. You go and you say, what can I do to help? You know what? I'll watch the kids. You go out for dinner. You guys need a vacation. Let's help sort it out. We'll figure out. I can't do the paperwork. I don't know. I'll do all the research. I'll find out. We'll get you a place. You go to Scotland. Whatever it might be. When you love shalom, when it's not just something that you like, but you love it and you want to live it, then that goes. Aharon HaKohen, he would find a way of making shalom. But these two business partners, they had a messy partnership breakup. Aharon HaKohen would go to one and see like, I heard about that. Yeah, I can't believe him. He did this to me. 20 years we were together. And then he says, I know that he's really, really sorry and he would love to sit down with you for a coffee. That's not what the text message he sent me said. I know, because he just doesn't know how to express it, but he feels, you sure? You think so? He says, of course, I know so. He says, yeah. He says, yeah. Tell me when and where, we'll work it out. He says, okay, if he's willing to meet me, we'll meet him over here, bonjour, at 10 o'clock. After the class from Rabbi Levi. Yeah. And then he comes to the second guy, I was just speaking to your former business partner. Yeah, I can't believe it that he did. He told me that he wants to sit down with you. He even gave me a time. Really? He wants to sit down with me? You sure? 100%. I just came from his office. You sure? I'm 100,000,000% sure. He gave me a time and a place, but okay. And then they sit down, and that's all it took. It's all it took to make this shalom, was to sit down and work it out. Sometimes you deal with certain, I don't know if you deal, I'll deal with certain couples that are going through shalom bayit issues, and sometimes you're like, it's exasperated so much, it's too late. So unfortunate that we didn't know about this a few months ago, and we could have sorted it out, because these issues that were little now blew out of proportion. And now, chas v'shalom, there's no more love. But if ohev shalom, if you love, if you're someone who pursues love, ohev shalom, that you love peace, and you love harmony, you love when everybody has the same goal and they're on the same page, then you're going to be a student of Aharon HaKohen, someone who's always looking that there should be shalom. In families, in businesses, in life. Relationships between parents and kids, whether it's your parents, the older generation, or whether it's seeing your children's friends and knowing that you hear from the mother, she can't believe that she did this, and he said, find a way of making shalom. And then the next words seem like a contradiction. Rodef shalom. Be someone who is a rodef, who is a pursuer of peace. Now, you look in the Gemara, whenever you have the terminology rodef is someone who's chasing with intent to kill. I would have thought the opposite. You can't have the word rodef and then the word shalom. Our rabbis tell us sometimes no, being a rodef is shalom. Sometimes standing up for what's right, that's shalom. You would think, what, the person, I can't believe she did this or she said this, but I'm not going to get involved because it's not my place. Every once in a while, you need to stand up for what's right. The classic example the rabbis give is Pinchas. Pinchas gets up, he sees Kozbi and Zimri and they're doing something wrong. What does he do? He takes a spear and he kills them. And there was a magefa. 24,000 people died in the plague, right? I think the first year we gave classes, we discussed as we led up to Lag BaOmer, the whole story of Gilgulim, who was Kozbi, who was Zimri, and Eshed Rufus, and Rabbi Akiva, and the 24,000 students. I don't know if it sounds familiar or not, but I could go dig up and see if we have the recording and put it on the group. But what happens over there? Pinchas gets up and he spears them. And what does Hashem say? I'm giving Pinchas the Nobel Peace Prize. Now you might tell me, look, the guy who killed Osama bin Laden is a hero. He killed a terrorist. That's great. But I don't know if I'd give him the Peace Prize. I give him Medal of Honor. I might give him a special army prize, but not peace. He didn't make peace. He killed someone. No, he did make peace. Hashem says, Pinchas, biriti shalom. You get the covenant of peace. Because sometimes getting up and killing is what causes peace. I was giving a class to a bunch of students, and the one guy was saying, there's this party, but I don't know, should I say something? My friends want to go, I know it's not going to be good for them. I said, of course. He says, but isn't that going to cause fighting? I said, no, that's shalom. That's a rodef shalom. You get up and you say, nobody should be going to that guy's house. And now that guy's going to fight with you. He's upset. Why are you telling me not to go to my house? Because you go over there and you're going to watch this, you're going to smoke that, you're going to drink this. That's not good. That sometimes, even though you love shalom, there's a time that you're a rodef. You stand up for what's right, and that's also shalom. Now, everybody has a conflict of interest, and everyone always thinks they're right. That's why we said previously, aseh lecharab, make yourself a rabbi. You got to have someone that can guide you. And everybody has a conflict of interest. You need to have, every rabbi needs a rabbi. Right? I remember my rabbi in Kolel, Rabbi Yitzchak Berkowitz, if I have a big question, I ask him. So we said to him, Rabbi, who's your rabbi? At the time he said, Rabbi Yashiv. You were like, who's Rabbi Yashiv's rabbi? He's the Gadol Hador. Doesn't get bigger, right? He said, no, he'll discuss it with Reb Chaim Kanievsky, who was his son-in-law, with the other Gedolim. But everybody needs to have someone to discuss it with. But ultimately, sometimes standing up for what's right, that is shalom. That's rodef shalom. Ohevet habriot. When you just love people, you love humanity. Every single person, you see they have a neshama, and there's so much good in them. And the way to do that, says Hillel, is mikarvan la Torah, through Torah. They need to understand and see the Torah is so beautiful, so practical, so enjoyable, and then hopefully automatically they'll realize that you want what's best for them, because you care about them. You need to do something. I think we've discussed in the past the story. There was a couple that they had these cousins that weren't so frum. And for years they said, if we just get them for one Shabbat meal, we'll be able to inspire them. We think that they'll want to become frum. And they finally, after 3 years, their cousin's like, if we come for Shabbat, will you stop inviting us? Yeah. We'll stop. No, all right, we'll give it a try. They go all out. They get salt beef and roasts and all the best food, amazing whiskeys, 21 year, Glenlivet, all the amazing stuff. And Shabbat Friday night's beautiful. Shabbat day's beautiful. They invite some guests. They have magnificent voices. You feel like you're at a choir. And by the end of Shabbat, they realized it was very nice, but their cousins just don't seem keen. So we tried. We did everything we possibly could. What happens? As Shabbat's about to end, the wife tells her husband, don't forget, we have in the shul tonight, there's going to be a class in the refuah shlema of this boy. So they hear, they're like, you're going back to shul? Yeah, an hour after Shabbat, going back to shul. You spent like half the day in shul. Why are you going back? There's a little boy who's not well. Is he related to us? No. Who's the boy? I don't know. You're going to waste your Saturday night going to synagogue to hear a class for refuah shlema, some kid you don't even know? Of course. There's going to be loads of people that, really? They say, we got to see this. They come. There's hundreds of people. They said, how many of these people know the kid? No, most don't. It's a family that's in the shul. They said, wow, this is what it means to be from. We're in. Mikarvan la Torah, you show them the beauty of the Torah because you love people. It's not that I want my cousin to be from because I need them to be from. I want them to be from because I know how beautiful it is, how amazing it is. I love shalom. When Hashem has shalom with everybody, when people, if they understand that the Torah is the key to everything, you want to have shalom bayit, you want to have good chinuch, you want to be happy in life, you come to the Torah. It's all in here, especially Pirkei Avot. This will give you the keys to successful life. I've heard from many businessmen, religious and not religious. They said a book that's changed my life, Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot, it's unbelievable. Everything's in there. So you want them to come, not because you're going to gain, because they're going to gain. Says Hillel, Ohev Shalom, love peace. Sometimes you got to stand up and be a Rodef Shalom. And he didn't just talk the talk. Hillel lived it. He had the patience. And he had the love. And he was willing to humble himself no matter the situation. You want Shalom? But she did this to me. And I sat with someone yesterday. We've mentioned this many times. But we can't hear it enough. Right? This couple was having Shalom Bayit issues. And she laid out all the facts. And I said, you know what? You're right. You're right. You know, Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, I think before he was quite famous, one of the videos that made him famous, he said, you see two kids playing together, 4 years old, and one kid comes and he grabs the truck out of the hands of the other one, pushes the kid down, runs away. This little 4-year-old kid, he was playing nice and innocently, he starts crying. The next day, are they going to play together in playgroup? Yeah. Says, you see adults, one says hello to the other one didn't hear. World War III, they don't talk to each other for 20 years. How come the kids the next day, they play together, and the adults, they don't talk to each other? So it's very simple. In life, you can either be right or you can be happy. Kids choose to be happy. Adults choose to be right. I said to this woman, you're right. But If you can continue insisting on being right, you're not going to be happy. Your marriage is going to fall apart. Ohev shalom. Sometimes you can be right, but you humble yourself. You say, I know I'm right. I'm going to go to her and I'm going to say, hey, let's go out for a coffee. I'm going to go to her and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm sorry. Even though I didn't do anything wrong. That's somebody who loves shalom. That's someone who loves peace. And they'll do whatever needs to be done. Hillel didn't just talk the talk, he lived it. He humbled himself, he ran in front of the carriage, he did whatever needed to be done. He loved people. Ehovet habriot, Aaron HaKohen, he loved shalom, and he did whatever had to be done because he loved people and he understood. Mikarvan la Torah, I want to bring them closer to Torah because that's the key to everything. And again, we could spend an hour on each one of the Mishnayot, but I'd try and go through a few of them. Huaya Omer, Hillel continues. Nagad Shemeh, Avad Shemeh. A sort of palm brings down. Why is this one in Aramaic? Everything in Pirkei Avot is in Hebrew. It says because that was the language spoken back in the day. So Hillel felt this is so important. Even though everything I say is in Hebrew, this one's going to be in Aramaic because I want everyone to hear it. Nagad Shemeh, Avad Shemeh. He who seeks to worry about his reputation, and what he does is because he's looking for kavod, Nagad Shemeh. He's going to lose it. Udulo Mosif, and if they're not constantly adding, Yasef, it decreases. Udulo Yalif Katla Hayav, and someone who doesn't constantly learn and grow is deserving of death. Udishtamesh v'tagah halaf, and someone uses the crown, they deserve to die. Nagad Shemeh Avad Shemeh. If somebody is looking, why am I doing what I'm doing? I want people to realize and acknowledge. It's another Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. He who runs after the kavod runs away from them. I had this on Sunday. Not exactly about kavod. On Sunday, right? I got the vaccine. I got the Oxford vaccine before it was even the blood clots and the balagan. I went and I got the vaccine. Right? I had a letter. It says, I work with students. I go into schools. I'm in education. And I deal with all different types of situations. And they said, no problem. I went on a Tuesday. My wife had the same exact letter. She said, I heard that the vaccine might knock you out for a day. So I'll do it on Friday. And that way, if I need to rest, I'll rest on Shabbat. She showed up over there on a Friday. And they said to her, sorry, we're not... She's like, I have the letter. Like, sorry, education. My husband had the same exact letter. We've changed the rules. We're not doing education. Literally a day or two later, they came out. Oxford, blood clots, yes, no, balagan. My wife says, it's a sign from Hashem. I'm not supposed to have the Oxford vaccine. I said, okay. Now, she heard from different people. If you want, you can queue up and maybe get the Pfizer vaccine. So this past Sunday, Baruch Hashem, there was a big football game, so the queue wasn't that long. We waited on the line. We waited on the queue. And there was about 5-6 people in front of us. And we waited over there. Within a few minutes time, we turned around. There was 40 people behind us. And everyone shows up. Anybody here have an appointment? If you have an appointment, you go over here. Anyone not, wait on the side. And people are coming over. Please wait on the side. Please. The guy over there, random security guard, is not a Yid. He looks and he says, did you get the vaccine? I'm like, yeah, I'm just here for my wife. He says, okay. My wife ended up, Baruch Hashem, she was able to go in. She knew the Hatzalah guy inside, was able to help her out. And the security guard, everybody's coming over. He's like, please, sir, to the side. I'm just schmoozing because I'm waiting for my wife. The guy says, looks, and he's like, I come forward. He's like, go ahead. I'm like, oh no, I don't need the vaccine. Everybody else is watching. I'm the only guy there who doesn't want it. And he's like, please go. Then this doctor comes out and he says, oh, Rabbi, please come. I'm like, no, I'm not looking for the vaccine. Right? And everybody else is like, what is going on over here? Right? And then there's another Hatzalah guy and he's like, oh, you're good? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not looking. If you're coming, going, looking, then you don't get. When it is that you're not worried about it, then Hashem sends it to you. If somebody is looking for their kavod, Hillel says, so often when someone has arguments, almost the opposite extreme. If you want to make shalom, you have to humble yourself. Over here, you have many people, they're looking for kavod. I want people to know what I did, what I've accomplished, how I was the one that set it up. I'm the one who did all this. If you're worried about your reputation, you get nothing. This past week, the Board of Deputies came out with a whole study they did. And they did it about black Jews, and then they included also Yemenite Jews and Mizrahi Jews and Middle Eastern Jews, how they feel unrepresented and it is not equal necessarily. And they did a whole study. And I saw in the newspaper, and it said, Rabbi Dweck, as the senior rabbi of Spanish and Portuguese shul, made this statement, and there's somebody called Raf Assor, who's the president of an organization called Harif, they made this statement, and the Sephardi Voices UK. And I was thinking to myself, should we as Chazak be in that space? Should I make a statement? Not because I need to make a statement. My statements are relevant. But do you want to be viewed in the organization as somebody who's there for the and then I'm thinking to myself, should I, shouldn't I? Do I do something? Do I not? Do we want to be PR in the newspaper? And then literally I opened up this Mishnah, and the first thing it's saying, Nagad Shemeh, Avad Shemeh. You want your name in the newspaper, you're worried about the kavod. You might disagree and say it's not about you, it's for the organization, it's important to the organization. I appreciate that. And many people will, have told me that. But I'm reading this Mishnah, it's like you're looking for the kavod, it's going to run away from you. And the next statement Hillel makes is, Udulom Mosif, if you're not constantly growing Yasef, then you're done. We need in life, in business, somebody is doing very well, they're making 10 million pounds a year. They're not going to say, "Ooh, I'm good." They're still going to look for a way to make more, to increase, to grow. Says Hillel, if you're not growing, you're going down. You need to constantly be growing. Most people are the same people when they're 25, when they're 45, when they're 65, when they're 85. I daven every day, once a day. I go to a class once a week. I keep Shabbat. And they're the same. They're great people, phenomenal people. They're going to go to Shamayim, there's no doubt. They're going to Gan Eden. But they're not growing. They're not growing their spiritual business. They're not looking, how can I increase? Says Hillel, you need to always be increasing. You need to always be looking, how can I do more? Slowly but surely, one step at a time. But ultimately, you can't just say, I'm good. Even if you are, your attitude needs to be, I need to be growing. I need to be always increasing. I need to be accomplishing. Years ago, I don't know if I told you the story. I had this person, the mom, the daughter actually called me up. This guy's in his 70s and he's having panic attacks. So I said, he's got to be busy. I sat down with the guy. They said we went to top therapists and doctors and got him medicine. Still in panic attacks. I sat with him and I said, look, you used to do a whole business. You're not accomplishing. You're not busy. So a few weeks later, I call him up. Much better, but still I'm having a little bit of panic attacks. I said, what are you doing? He says, well, I go to the volunteer here. I said, no, sorry. Let me rephrase it. You need to be accomplishing. We're going to teach you how to use the internet. We're going to teach you how to do online baking. And you can continue working if you did accounts. And Baruch Hashem, that's what we did. Different person. Why? Because you need to always, our neshama yearns to be growing, to be accomplishing. You can use certain things to distract you. And some people, they have a collection. They have a stamp collection. Look what I've created. Look at what I've accomplished. It's nice. It's cute. But you've misplaced that yearning from your neshama to accomplish with something that's cute. Our neshama yearns to do things where they're giving. I sat with a guy a couple nights ago. And we were talking, right? He's actually speaking right now to the Beam Academy, 10:30, to our business program. And I said to him, we have some, it's going amazing, Baruch Hashem, but we have some students, they're good kids, but they're only 18, and they're a bit lazy. And even money doesn't motivate them. If we gave them more money, or we said we're going to fire them, they don't really need the money. They're living at home. When you're 30, you need the money. You got to pay the bills. You have a wife, you have kids. So this guy's 18. He says, in my company, the only way that we accept people is, I ask them, what are their goals? Why are they doing this? This guy said to me, I've created an app that helps restaurants. And he says, I just got a message. They're using it in Chile. They're using it in Mexico. He says, they're paying me, but the 69 pounds a month is not going to make me or break me. But I'm so happy that I've done something that's helping the world and making it more efficient. And all the restaurants are now using my app to help people order. Right? Why you do? He said to me, in my company, there's Baruch Hashem, I think 50 people working for him so far, a young guy in his low 30s. He said, there's a company culture. Why are you doing what you're doing? If it's about money, I don't hire you. Obviously, you need money. And obviously, it's important. I want you to be motivated. But why are you doing? Are you looking to grow? Are you looking to accomplish? That's what Hillel's saying over here. Don't just worry about your kavod. If you're looking for kavod, it's going to run away from you. And why are you doing what you're doing? Are you growing? Are you constantly looking to do more and increase? Because if you're not increasing, you're decreasing. And not only that, one who doesn't teach and one who isn't learning the Torah, that's the source of everything. That gives us life. And if somebody uses the crown of Torah, then what happens? Then they deserve to fade away or to even die. There's a story, I read the story, Chacham Ovadia, I read it a few times. Chacham Ovadia brought it down, Rabbi Yehuda Levi, author of the Kuzari, he says there was once a very dangerous area and there was known to be a lot of thieves. And everybody knew, don't travel through the forest. You're going to get, beaten. You're going to get. And 3 students of Yehuda Hasid, I believe it was, they went through and they said, if anything happens, we'll just use the name of Hashem to protect us. And that's what happened. They got attacked. They used the name of Hashem, and therefore they weren't harmed. When Yehuda Hasid heard about this, he says, you can't do that. said, well, what should we do? We already did it. He said, you should go back, and this time don't use the name of Hashem, and maybe you'll be lucky, maybe you won't. They went back, they were attacked, and they all got killed. And Rabbi Yehuda Hasid said, that's the punishment that they warned for using the name of Hashem. That's what Hillel said. You use the crown of Hashem, you deserve to die. Now, Chacham Avadia is like, I respectfully disagree. He shouldn't have sent them back. They shouldn't have done it, but once they did it, you don't send them somewhere that you know they're likely to get killed. But that's how much he felt that you can't use the name of Hashem. You have a rabbi and he says, oh, can you buy me this? Can you do that for me? He's using the crown of Torah. It's because the person's a rabbi that he's getting you to do things for him. That's asur. The rabbi shouldn't be asking for favors. That's what Hillel's saying over here. Statement number one, what do you got to do? You got to be growing. But don't be doing it because you're looking for kavod. And when you're growing, there needs to be a constant growth. You can't just say, I know a lot and I'm good. Constantly be learning. And if you're not learning, if you're not growing, and if you're not accomplishing, then you deserve to die. But once you learn and you're growing and you understand why you're doing what you're doing, and you can't use that for your own private benefit. You can't say, therefore, because I'm the rabbi, do this for me, or because I'm this person who organized this or started that. You can't use the crown of Torah for your glory. And one last Mishnah. What does Hillel say? This one's quite a famous one. Huaya Omer, Hillel used to say, Im en ani li mili. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? You got to take care of yourself. Ain't nobody going to do anything for you. Right? I often deal with teenagers. I'm like, what happens if you don't wake up on Shabbat? Why didn't you wake up? Every teenager says the same thing. My mother didn't wake me up. Your mom's not an alarm clock. You have a phone, you have an alarm clock, you live in a technological age, you know how to set it. Set the alarm. It's not your parents' responsibility. That's what I always say. Im en ani li. There's a problem, right? I had a meeting 2 nights ago with a guy. He said Shabbat afternoon is really long, and the kids, they're sitting there, they're bored. Either they get up to no good, they go to this one's house and they do this or that, or they end up being bored and going on to Netflix. We need to create a program. So Baruch Hashem, we did. You come to Chazak on Shabbat afternoon, past couple of weeks, 25, 30 boys from year 9. It's great. The guy said to me, I realized this is a problem for my son. So now I figured he's not the only one. And he didn't just say, well, what are we supposed to do with our kids? He called up, he said, I don't know what to do, but you at Chazak know what to do. Let's facilitate. Tell me how much it costs. I'll raise it. I know you did a fundraiser, but this wasn't part of your budget. Tell me how much it costs. I'll get some other parents to give. This is a person who said, Im en ani li mili. If I don't do it, no one's going to do it. It's very easy to sit back and complain about the system, complain about the schools, complain about the thing, It's very nice. I hate meetings, because usually you sit down in a meeting and you discuss all the problems, and then you look at your watch like, oh, it's been 2 hours. All right, we'll reconvene in 6 weeks or 6 months. And then you reconvene, and once again, you talk about all the problems. I'm the guy who halfway through says, all right, shut up. We know there's a problem. What are we going to do to fix it? Yalla, let's make this happen. Some people put together a lot of plans, and then nothing happens. This change, and then there was that. All right, adapt. Find a way. Im en ani li mili. If I'm not going to do it, no one's going to do it. When I came to London, I had the words of my Rebbe, Rabbi Berkowitz, ringing in my ears. If there's something only you can do, or only you're willing to do, then that's your responsibility. That's what Hillel's saying. Im en ani li mili. You have to look at it and say, this is my responsibility. Now, I could have said, what does London have to do with anything? I'm from America, from New York. No. If there's something that opportunity came in front and that's something that I can do, or other people maybe can do it, but they're not willing to, then it's my responsibility. I'm very busy here in London. Someone said to me, why are you opening up a branch in Los Angeles? I said, because we have to. You're not busy enough. I'm like, trust me, I'm busy enough. But I'm worried I'm going to get to Shamayim and God's going to be like, what about LA? I'll be like, I don't know, I was in London. And then Hashem's going to press the button and he's going to be like, you could have created all this and you didn't. The biggest stab in the heart. So you do everything you possibly can. You try. It doesn't work out. You try. You go to Shamayim, you say, Hashem, I did. But you have to look at it and say, en ani li. If I'm not going to do it, no one's going to do it. So I have to do it. It's my responsibility. I had a meeting yesterday with some important people here in London. What are we doing? Here's some gaps in the market, people that aren't being catered to. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to figure this out? And we're discussing, well, if we try and get involved, are we spreading ourselves too thin? If you do both, then both of them suffer and neither one's done right. Let's just find out who's the right person. It's not my responsibility. It is my responsibility. Im en ani li mili. If I don't do it, ain't no one's going to do it. So statement number 1 of Hillel is, yalla, get involved, take action. and you need to do it because no one else is. Ukshani la'atzmi mani. And if you only worry about yourself, what are you? And the commentaries are perplexed. Statement 1, worry about yourself. Make sure you're going to do it. Statement number 2, don't just worry about yourself. in two lines, Hillel is contradicting himself. So I'm sure we've said this because it's one of my favorite ideas here. Reb Shimon Shkup explains, Im en ani li mili. If I am not for myself, who will be? We need to ask ourselves, what is my ani? When you have a single woman and she's babysitting or she's working and she's saying, I need to, who's my I? Me, myself, and I need to, so I can buy shoes, so I can buy clothes, so I can give charity, so I can whatever it might be. Somebody gets married and you have a woman and she says, I now includes her husband and her kids. I need to wake up in the morning, not just for me, because I have people there that are relying on me. Her ani has expanded into her family and her husband, not just me, myself, and I. You have certain people, they run an organization. There was an amazing campaign. I did a barbecue in Ashura last night, and one of the girls that was there was working at Noah. Right? And we were discussing different projects, different things. Noah, Baruch Hashem, just did a big campaign. A week and a half ago, Baruch Hashem raised over 1.5 million pounds. So you have the head of Noah, Rebbetzin Naomi Lehrer. When she says her I just isn't just her husband and her kids. Her I is her husband, her kids, and all these girls that need help. She's expanded her ani to be the community. And you have some people, they're so big and so special. When they say ani, it includes not just them, not just their spouse, not just their kids, not just their immediate community, but people in Israel, people in Australia, people in Argentina, people in America, whatever it is, I need to go out there and do for anyone and everyone that I possibly can. Says Rav Shimon Shkup, that's what Hillel means. Im en ani li mili. If I am not for myself, nobody else is going to be. I need to take care of myself. I need to be the one who gets things done. I need to take responsibility. Uksha'ani la'atzmi, but if my ani is only me, myself, and I, then ma'ani, what am I? We need to expand our ani to include not just our immediate family, but the community and the schools and the shuls and the community and the world. I'm not just worried about what I'm doing here. I'm going to worry about that's what my rabbi always taught us. What's happening in LA and what's happening in New York and what's happening in other places. And what do you want to do over there? And again, you can't do everything at once, slowly but surely, but have a short-term and a long-term project. Where are you going? What you're doing? How you going to do it? And you can always adapt the project. You can always, things happen. There's Corona, changes everything. No problem. But you still need to think, who am I and what is my I? What is my ani? Our ani needs to be as broad as it possibly can be. Again, charity starts at home, 100%. You focus first on yourself. If you're not strong, if you're not stable, if you're not healthy, then you can't be there for your spouse and you can't be there for your kids, etc. So you gotta be good. Mentally, you gotta be strong. You gotta make sure every once in a while you take care of yourself and you go for a spa day, you go on vacation, you go whatever it might be that you need for yourself. Im en ani li. You gotta be there. Im en ani. I saw Rabbi Tursky, he says, what does it mean? Know who you are, know your strengths. Im en ani. If I don't know my ani, then I can't really be successful. Understand who you are and what you need, and you got to prioritize yourself. Many moms, they're so busy trying to be there for everybody else that at some point they collapse. And they can't. Im en ani. You got to take care of yourself. But then, you need to expand your ani, not just you, obviously your spouse and your kids, but beyond that. Because ukshani la'atzmi, if I'm only worried about myself, mani, what am I? I'm here in this world to give, to help, to do. Ve'imlo achshav em matai. And now that I'm going to take responsibility, and now that I'm understanding my responsibility is not only for me, it's for the whole community, when am I going to do it? Achshav. I'm not going to wait around. Everybody knows, when do you start a diet? You can't start a diet on Shabbat. You can't. So when do you start a diet? You start a diet on Sunday. But there was the engagement party, there was the thing, my cousin invited me, there was the barbecue, so you can't start it on Monday. Everyone knows. You got to start on Sunday. So you wait till the next week, and then the next week, and then the next week. What happens? Before you know it, you ask many young people, how come you don't volunteer? Right now I'm very busy. When I get older and I retire, I'm going to have time. You're going to see I'm going to volunteer. And I'm going to travel the world. And then you come to people in their 70s and 80s, how come you're not volunteering? I remember you told me when you were 20, you want to sit and learn, and now you have the time. Yeah, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. For me to volunteer, I'm old. I don't understand all this technology stuff. To travel is such a headache and a hassle. I'm happy they just... So when you're young, you say, I'll do when I'm old. When I'm old, you're too old. Im lo achshav imatai. If not now, then when? No matter what you have going on, if you're going to want to volunteer, get involved and volunteer. You want to learn, book in those classes. You want to have coffee with this person right after the shiur, message them. Or even right now, I don't mind. During the shiur, message them, hey, let's go out for a coffee. Hey, I wanted to take care of this. Whatever it is, im lo achshav, if you don't do it right away, then when are you going to do it? Ematai. It's easy to procrastinate. The Yetzer Hara loves to procrastinate. I'm going to clean out that cupboard next week. I'll have the time. I'm going to wait till Pesach. It's always, there's an excuse. There's a reason. There's always a reason. Says Hillel, take responsibility. Understand? Don't rely on your husband to do it. I was talking to a couple, Shalom Bayit. And she said, my husband says, I said, you said it yourself. Your husband's been saying for the past 6 months, he's going to do it. Right? One of my favorite memes. It says, ladies, if a man says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. You don't need to remind him every 6 months, right? You're getting frustrated because your husband said he's going to help. He said he's going to do it, but he's obviously not. So if you really, really, really want it done, just pay someone else to do it or do it yourself. Get one of the kids to. But he said he's going to do it. You're right. But if it's causing you aggravation, it's just not worth it. Take response. I'll do it. Again, I appreciate that you'll be frustrated 100 million%. And you have every right to be. He said he's going to do it. He didn't do it. And it's taking forever. But it's not worth the aggravation. If you really need it to get done, then just take responsibility. Don't rely on him to do it. If I'm not going to do it, if I'm not going to say, what are we going to do for these kids? I was discussing with somebody. I said, my girls, on a Sunday afternoon, I have a daughter who's 11, a daughter who's 13. What do? Basically nothing. I said, I don't think it's only my daughters. There's nothing happening. There's no programs really. They have a dancing with this one, but there's not that much going on. So we need to create something. And someone said to me, you want to make another program? You don't have enough on your plate? Are you kidding me? I said, but I'm sure if it was just for my daughters, I don't need to create a program. They're good girls, Baruch Hashem, but surely they're not the only ones. So what's happening for frum girls on a Sunday? They're not going to school. They're sitting there. They're bored. How many videos could you watch already? Let's do something. The person said, I said, if I'm not going to do it, no one's going to do it. So I spoke to this one, that one, and then Corona. But I want to do it. We're going to get involved. What's going to happen? I said, I'm going to take responsibility because if I don't do it, nobody will. And if I only worry about myself, if I'm just doing something for my kids, money, what am I? You need to do for the whole community. And when are you going to do it? I'll do it after Corona, and I'll do it. No, now. Message the people. Again, you might only be able to start then. I sat with a woman this week. She says, I want to do this, this, and this. I said, when? Realistically, after Chagim. I said, great. Most people would have said, so why are you meeting now? We're in April. You got May, June, July, August, September. Another 5 months. No, sit down now, plan it now, and then you'll be able to hit the ground running. You can adapt it, things can change, but you need to have that inspiration and do it right away. When you decide, I'm doing Hillel, he got things done. Hillel, he humbled himself. Ohev shalom, dev shalom. Hillel, lo yalif katla hayav. He was always going, he was always doing. He wasn't worried about his reputation, he was humbled. I don't mind running in front of the carriage, but it's not kavod. It doesn't matter about me, I'm worried about this person. They need the kavod, give them the kavod. But you shouldn't be running after kavod. He didn't just talk, he lived it. He had the patience to make shalom. Sometimes rodef, you got to stand up for what's right, and you rodef shalom. But ultimately, what has to happen? You need to get up, you need to take responsibility. You see somebody that doesn't have shalom, ohev shalom, love peace, mekarvan la Torah, bring him closer to Torah. Don't worry about your reputation, because those who are running after it, the guy who's not interested in the vaccine, that's who they keep offering it to. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to make sense. That's the way Hashem runs the world. We need to learn from Pirkei Avot, from Hillel, what it is that we need to be doing. So, Be'ezat Hashem, we'll tap into some of these lessons. We said, as we get ready for Shavuot, it's weeks of growth. Growth in what? What does that mean? In our character traits. And the best place that I can think of to look on how to work on your ethics is Pirkei Avot, ethics of our fathers. Be'ezat Hashem, we'll continue. Be'ezat Hashem, we'll have a shiur next week. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great week.